Radio.com. KCAA.
Do you believe in a God that satisfies? Do you believe in a God that opens eyes? Do you believe in a God that tells you lies? Or do you believe in me? Do you believe in a God that brings you down? Do you believe in a God that wears the ground? Do you believe in a God that makes you bow? Or do you believe in me? Do you believe in a God that satisfies? Do you believe in a God that opens eyes? Do you believe in a God that tells you lies? Or do you believe in me? Do you believe in a God that brings you down? Do you believe in a God that wears the ground? Do you believe in a God that makes you bow? Or do you believe in me?
It's Beyond Common Sense. It's Lanny Sense with Lanny Swerdlow, KCAA's resident gay, woke, liberal, pot-smoking, race-mixing, tree-hugging, left-handed, science-affirming, Jewish, humanist, atheist, a white evangelical Christian nationalist, worst nightmare. Good evening and welcome to Lanny Sense, my wonderful, wonderful show, and I am so delighted to have you here tonight because we've got a very special show tonight because we're just 1 week away from the big election that's going to decide the future of the entire planet. And that's not exaggerating things because, well, I think you could think of a lot of reasons why it might very well too. And I'm going to hope that you'll take a few minutes and call in and share some of your opinions about election 2024 and what you think is going to happen and what's going to happen and so forth and so on, and anything else as well. Just call 888-909-1050. That's 888-909-1050 and get on the show and let's talk a little bit. But before we get to all this, last week we ran a repeat show because KCA were moving their studios. That's right, from their studios in Redlands, they have now moved to beautiful San Bernardino. Hey, Eric, can you kind of jump on for just a second and tell us all about the new studios of KCAA?
Oh, the new studios, it's a big upgrade from the old location. Although I'm going to miss Redlands, we're here now at the beautiful Teamsters local 1932 location in San Bernardino. And they have made us nice and feel at home in this new, bigger location. I'd say a lot swankier as well. So I'm looking forward for you to come down and check out the new spot and tell me what you think as well about it.
I intend to do that one of these days. Right now, I'm coming from home today, but maybe next week I'll try and get down there. And of course, your listeners are always invited to come down to the studios and attend as well. But check it out because I'm not there every week like today. I'm not there as well. Eric, thank you so much.
Of course,
and,
no problem.
We'll look forward to more great things coming out of KCA and their new studios in San Bernardino, California.
Also, one thing, Lanny, they have a great smoking patio on the side, too, for us. So,
are you telling me smoking of anything?
To my knowledge, yes. I haven't heard any complaints yet.
Until they tell you to stop.
Exactly. All right, you have a great show. I'll be here.
Now I'm definitely going to come down and I'm going to bring some of my finest. That is for sure. It would seem to me that it would be a good thing for every public place to have an area where people can step aside and calm down and imbibe a little bit and then go back to work or whatever it is they were doing. That would be a very beneficial thing because we all know just how beneficial cannabis is for the well-being of everything that we know. Okay, well, we're going to be talking about politics, like I said, about this election coming up. I wanted to mention something that kind of just happened recently. You might have seen it in the news where the Los Angeles Times and the Washington Post, which had for decades always been endorsing presidential candidates, this year, both the Washington Post and the Los Angeles Times have started a policy. They're not going to endorse anybody. And of course, what has changed in the LA Times and the Washington Post is that these papers are now owned by billionaires, and they seem to be a little scared of Trump. If Trump might win, and there's unfortunately a good chance he could win, they're afraid he may take it out on those who opposed him. So they're taking a, quote, neutral stand, which of course is a pro-Trump stand. And what this is, you think that when you're worth billions and billions and billions of dollars, that you wouldn't have to kiss anybody's ass. But look at it. These billionaires are so afraid of Trump, that are so afraid of Trump that he cannot. They're afraid of him. They're afraid of Trump, and so just because you're a billionaire doesn't mean you can't kiss people's ass, right? So if you'd like to comment on that, please call our show at 888-909-1050. That's 888-909-1050, and let's talk politics on Lanny Sense tonight. Okay, and what is amazing, of course, about the Trump thing is that this person who, in the big debate, and since then, actually talks seriously about Haitians eating cats and dogs and people's pets. This person is very close to becoming president of the United States. Have you gone on YouTube and have you seen any of the videos, the music videos about eating cats and eating pets with Trump doing it? They are hilarious. If you haven't done it after the show, go to youtube.com and put in there about people eating cats and dogs and that type of thing. So, okay, let me see here. We're going. I got this new system. It looks like I got a call coming in here. Hi, Sam. You need to call 888-909-1050. Not my cell phone. Be on the show. 888-909-1050. There you go. Okay. Somebody, a good friend of mine's calling in, but he called in on my cell phone rather than the radio show. So hopefully he now knows to call 888-909-1050, and that'll get him on the show. Okay, I've got a message here, so let's see what this is how we do things. They're in the 21st century, and okay, the phone line is down. Oh no, I just got a message that in the brand new studios of KCAA radio, the phone lines are down. You can't come on. Eric, would you text me, please, if the phone lines come up? Oh my God, this is going to be an interesting show. I've got a number of guests who are going to call in tonight, and now they can't call in. He says we're finishing things up by tomorrow. All right. Well, it looks like it's going to be just me on the show. This is. I'm sure a lot of you are going to be disappointed. This is so embarrassing. So very, very embarrassing. So I guess we'll do a show next Tuesday, which will be the evening of the election, and maybe we could be talking about what we know about so far at 8 p.m. when the polls close here in California. But I do have something here I want to talk about. It's very, I was just talking about, the billionaires kissing ass. Even though they got $1 billion, they have to kiss ass still. But one of the things that's interesting is, Elon Musk, spent $42 billion to buy Twitter. And that's a lot of money even to Elon Musk, because I think the guy's only worth about, $150 billion or $200 billion. That's about, 20% of all his wealth. He bet on Twitter. And it hasn't been the best investment. Here's an interesting story I came across, which talked about that the top political accounts on X, political accounts, from Democrats, Republicans, and that kind of stuff, have seen their audiences crumble in the months before the election. When they should really be going full gun, full hog, they're crumbling. It's a signal of the platform's diminishing influence and the usefulness to political discourse under the new billionaire owner, Elon Musk. Politicians on both sides of the aisle have struggled to win the attention they once enjoyed on the platform formerly known as Twitter, including senators, representatives, and committees, equal parts Democrat and Republican. But some of these tweets, since it's now called X, it's not tweets anymore. That makes it some of their X's, whatever, are still going mega viral. But virtually all of them are from Republicans. The Republicans have also seen huge spikes in followers counts over the Democrats. And their tweets, or X's, have collectively received billions of more views than the Democrats. X has seen a dramatic exodus of users since Musk took over in 2022. And I'm one of them. I have not used X since Musk took over. And apparently, there's a lot of people just like me who are no longer using X. Edison Research found that in March that X's usage in the United States had dropped 30% since last year. So there is a lot more people like me. The investment firm, this is the interesting part, the investment firm Fidelity this month estimated that X's value has plunged about 80% since Musk's takeover. So if he paid $42 billion for it, so you can cut it by about 3/4 of that. So that means he lost $30 billion since taking over X and running it the way he wants to run it. But billion here, billion there, that doesn't mean anything to Musk, whatever. But it's interesting. He's lost $30 billion with X. But the viewers, what's interesting, though, is that the viewers that have stayed on X now largely see posts that skew towards the political bent of Musk himself, an avid booster of former President Donald Trump, who has jumped on stage with him at rallies, donated $118 million towards his bid for a second term, and launched a daily $1 million giveaway for registered voters in swing states, which might be illegal. I mean, there's been, the DA in Pennsylvania or some state filed suit against him saying he's breaking the law because he's buying votes, and you can't do that. That's totally illegal. So we'll see what happens with that. Musk, which is the world's richest man, as I said, has paid $42 million, and has since become, since he owns X, the biggest user with 200 million followers. So he's got even more followers than Pope Francis, I guess. It's almost impossible to say whether X is explicitly suppressing Democrats, as some liberals have speculated. An analysis turned up no evidence of direct manipulation. The shift in attention could reflect changing attitudes among users who have stuck around, given that many left-wing users have said they left the platform of their own accord, annoyed by Musk antics and X-withdrawn rules. And I was one of them. I was one of millions, apparently. But the transformation of a platform once obsessed over by politicians, journalists, and news junkies has nevertheless fueled agitation among Democrats over lost opportunities for messaging during an election year that has been bitterly fought over online. So Democratic messages are not getting on over on X as well as Republican messages, and that's not good for Democrats. A Pew Research Center survey in March found that of the people who post about political issues on X, Republicans were much more likely to say their views are welcome there. It's not a right-leaning platform. It's right-led, said Shannon McGregor, an associate professor at the University of North Carolina who studies social media platforms. McGregor stated that, quote, in the past, political actors on both sides saw Twitter as the place to go to get news coverage and a sense of how people were reacting. But it doesn't have that real political centrality anymore. Now for Republicans, it's become a place for partisan signaling to the leader of the party, to the owner who's very close to him, to each other, that I'm a good Republican and this is what looks like now. That's the way it is. The shift has alarmed current White House officials who worry their official X accounts' drop in engagement could hinder their ability to reach Americans during moments of crisis. The White House account dropped from an average of more than 200,000 views per tweet last summer to roughly 100,000 today. That's a 50% drop. Representatives and Musk have refused to comment about why this is happening. Analyzing followers counts, view counts, and other information from nearly 150,000 tweets dated July 2023, it was found that using data provided by the National Conference on Citizenship, a civic nonprofit organization, the analysis reviewed the top 50 Democratic and 50 Republican congressional accounts ranked by platform activity since the summer and excluded retweets and replies. Now, here's the interesting point. Changes under Musk to X recommendation algorithm, which decides which posts to promote or bury in people's feeds, have prioritized popular content from around the platform over posts from the accounts a user chooses to follow. Let me repeat that. Changes under Musk to X recommendation algorithm. This is the thing that kind of decides whether it's people aren't doing this. It's a computer doing this. That makes the decisions on which posts to promote or bury in people's feeds. In other words, is what you posted going to get out there, or is it get buried where no one's going to see it? Have prioritized this algorithm has prioritized popular content from around the platform over posts from the accounts a user chooses to follow. So even though you don't want the information, you're going to get that, and you're not going to get what you really want. That opaque system makes it challenging to know why some tweets go viral more often than others. But right-wing tweeters, or Xers, have clearly benefited under Musk's reign. Nearly all of the 33 tweets with more than 20 million views since last summer came from Republican. Listen to that again. Nearly all of the 33 tweets with more than 20 million views since last summer came from Republicans. The most viral post from the House Judiciary Committee and its chair, Representative Jim Jordan warned, quote, "You're not safe in Democratic-run Philadelphia," end quote, and included a meme relating to the bogus Trump-repleted claim that Haitian migrants in Ohio were eating cats. There you go. The most viral post from this Representative Jim Jordan, who was this right-wing nutcase, saying you're not safe in Democratic-run Philadelphia. That's what he posted, most viral thing there, and included a meme about Haitians eating cats. This is what Twitter, X, has become under Musk. Since July 2023, the Republicans have seen huge booms in their follower counts. 17 of the 20 accounts with the biggest following growth are Republicans, including that wonderful person, Representative Matt Gaetz and Senator Jess Hawley, who they each gained over 500,000 votes. These are Republicans. One of the few Democrats to gain in the rankings, Representative Colin Allred, secured about 35,000 new followers. He's competing for the Senate seat of Ted Cruz, who gained more than 400,000. 10 members in the data actually lost followers. Every single one of them Democrats. So Republicans are going up, Democrats are going down. And this is all because of the algorithms that Musk is promoting in the new X. Most of the account's posts make less of an impression now than during X's more vibrant past. The typical post from a Republican last month was seen about 7,900 times, a little over half as many viewers as it would have gotten in a year ago in July 2023. But it was still more than the average Democratic post, which received 4,100 views last month, down from 5,600 last summer. So, everybody's down, but Democrats are down more than Republicans. The Republicans are posting more now, too, allowing them to greatly outnumber Democrats on users' feeds. The Republican tweets totaled more than 7.5 billion views since July 2023, more than double the Democrats' 3.3 billion. Democrats have voiced suspicion over whether X is treating left-leaning accounts more harshly, such as when the platform briefly suspended a White Dudes for Harris account shortly after it helped raise millions for Vice President Kamala Harris's campaign. X has refused to respond to questions asked by journalists for what caused the suspension, which Representative Jerry Nadler, a Democrat from New York, described as platform censorship. You know, the Republicans used to claim that they were being centered on twist. They weren't. But now that Musk has taken over, Democrats are. Under Musk, the platform has secretly throttled traffic to the New York Times and other sites Musk has vilified, reinstated previously banned political accounts, and launched a payment system for influencers' first beneficiaries skewed hard right. Okay, let's go on. Musk also has a history of bending the platform to his whims. After a Super Bowl tweet of his underperformed president, Joe Biden, Musk directed X-engineers to boost his posts higher in people's feeds to maximize global attention to himself. In August, he devoted X's most premium real estate to a 2-hour chat with Trump, who later endorsed a plan to give Musk a leadership role in reducing government spending. And we'll talk about that in a few minutes. Despite X's declining engagement, the platform has regularly depicted itself as near the peak of its influence. X said this month it was seeing, quote, all-time highs in usage, end quote, with 547 million monthly active users spending 363 billion user seconds a day. And in August, the company said its platform had more Democrats than Republicans, adding, there's a place for everyone in the global town square. X-changing policies and conversations have driven some users off the platform and to a small but growing group of social media competitors. After X recently withdrew its rules to allow blocked users to see a user's tweets, the social network Blue Sky said it gained 500,000 viewers in a single day. But the company has found one potentially lucrative niche: right-wing political advertising. Analysis earlier this month found that the backers of Republican candidates were outspending Democrats on that platform 3-1. So, have you heard of Blue Sky? I've never heard of Blue Sky, but I'm going to check it out. Like I said, I have not used X since Musk took over, so I have voluntarily chosen to, I guess, censor myself, because I mean, the people who rely on X to get news and this kind of stuff aren't getting it from me. And a lot of, like the White House and other people are still using X. I think they should stop. And there's this new thing called Blue Sky, which I'm going to check out. And I encourage you to check out and find out what kind of a social platform they are and what it takes to get on them, and get on Blue Sky. And let your friends and family members and everyone know that you are now using Blue Sky to post whatever it is you want to post. And then maybe we will, maybe Trump will lose even more billions of dollars. $30 billion, that's absolutely an amazing amount of money to lose. I get upset if I lose $30. I wonder if Trump is at all, Musk is at all upset that he's lost $30 billion on his purchase of Twitter and now X. I don't know. But, of course, if we go to Blue Sky, that's going to say, hey, listen. If you had gotten into the beginnings of Twitter and bought stock in the beginnings of Twitter, it became worth a lot more money, which Musk paid a lot of money for that. Maybe some people who bought Twitter made a lot of money off of Musk. But maybe this is the time to get into Blue Sky, because a lot of Democrats and a lot of progressives and liberals and this stuff are going to stop using X and start using Blue Sky. So maybe this is a time to go buy stock in Blue Sky then go on to Blue Sky and start using Blue Sky for posting your news, and tell all your friends to use Blue Sky. And the more people you tell to use Blue Sky, the more the value of your stock purchase in Blue. I mean, I don't know, maybe Blue Sky is not even on the market. I don't know anything about it. But check it out. Check it out. Check it out. Well, once again, we're halfway through the show. I really have to apologize that I know, and I have talked with a number of you who are planning on calling in, and you can't because the phones are down. The KCA studios have electricity, and they're working because you're hearing me on the podcast and over the air. But unfortunately, I can't hear you. So that's very unfortunate. But we'll hopefully. Eric said. The phones will be up tomorrow. And so next Tuesday, if you tried to call in this Tuesday, please call back in next Tuesday. I apologize. I am so sorry that this is happening, that you can do that. I made myself a couple notes to talk about here. One thing I want to talk about is I was talking with some friends about, what the disaster we're in right now, with Trump, but all the stuff's been going on with the wars and all this kind of stuff. Is there a villain, and I hate to use the word, that is responsible for the disaster we find ourselves in today? And, there is in a way, and he certainly is not someone who you think of as a villain. And of course, he is certainly someone who I have a lot of respect for. And had done some wonderful things. But in a way, and I was talking with some friends about this, this person might very well be responsible for the disaster we're in today. And who am I talking about? The author of Unsafe at Any Speed, Ralph Nader. Do you remember that book, Unsafe at Any Speed? Which indicted it's not the Corvette. What was it? Corvair. The Chevy Corvair, the little car, as being really dangerous, and Chevy knew it, and they still kept producing them, and people were getting killed. And Ralph Nader's book, Unsafe at Any Speed, exposed it, and he became a major consumer advocate. But in 2000, he was the Green Party's candidate or something like that. And if you remember, and if you don't, I'm going to remind you, in Florida, Nader got over 90,000 votes. And Al Gore lost Florida. Remember the big thing about the hanging chads and all that kind of stuff? Al Gore lost Florida by about 550 votes. Those 90 some odd thousand people that voted for Nader, they would not have voted for George Bush. Most of them wouldn't have, for sure. And if Nader had not been running in Florida, Gore would have won. And if Gore had won and 9/11 happened, Gore would not have gone to Iraq like Bush did. And that is what destabilized the entire Middle East and brought so many of the problems that are there to a head there. As horrible as Saddam Hussein was, and some of those other people there, they at least maintained stability. And in Saddam Hussein's Iraq, women were pretty well treated. Everybody was mistreated, women included, of course. But as long as you didn't criticize Hussein, you could probably lead a halfway decent life. But the world would be totally, totally different if Al Gore had won the presidency in 2000. And I cannot help but believe that a lot of the problems we're having today is a result of Al Gore not winning the presidency and George Bush taking over. Oil ban. And, if Gore had taken over, the climate change thing would have been taken seriously. And we won't be in the mess we are in today. There's been some articles just coming out recently that the amount of CO2 going in the atmosphere and the amount of methane and this kind of stuff is at an all-time high. And when we instead should be trying to get it lower, it's getting worse. And there's a lot of young people out here, and I'm hearing, some of them are going to vote for Trump and this kind of stuff. Young people, I'm 78. Come 2050, very unlikely that I'm going to be around. And I'm not sure I'm going to want to be around, because the real effects of climate change are going to start then. We're seeing some of the effects right now in Florida with those hurricanes, one right after the other. It's not that there are hurricanes in Florida. There's always been hurricanes in Florida. Well, always, for the last, 50 million years. There's always been hurricanes in Florida. But what is new is the intensity of the hurricanes, because they are picking up so much more energy as they travel over the every warmer ocean waters. So when they might have hit before as a Category 1 or even a Category 2, they are now more likely to hit as a Category 4 or 5. And these two, Helena and Milton, they were walloped into Florida. And what's funny is that Florida did pass this law saying that the government papers and agencies cannot refer to climate change. So they can't talk, they can't, it's just bizarre. They can't talk about climate change. They can't use the words climate change. And talk about burying your head in the sand. I don't know how the people of Florida could possibly put up with it. If you owned, the insurance premiums, home insurance premiums, if you can even get them in Florida, are just absolutely through the roof. And these people own all these condos. They're having to retrofit the condos to withstand these hurricanes by law, and they're getting socked with bills for hundreds of thousands each unit, not just the entire building. Each unit in the condos are getting socked with bills for hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars to retrofit these buildings to make them safe for these hurricanes. Hurricane season isn't over yet. They could still get walloped by another one, although it's getting less and less. But boy, next year they're going to get more, and it's all climate change. It's all climate change, and we're not taking it seriously. And if Gore had been elected president, we would have taken climate change seriously. We would have done something to reduce our reliance on fossil fuels way sooner than waiting around for Joe Biden to get in there. Even President Obama took some steps towards helping climate change, but he didn't take what was really needed. And so anyway, thanks, Ralph. But here's the thing, and so we've got, right now we have Jill Stein and what's his name, the Harvard educator running for president. These people are going to siphon votes away from Democrats. And so they help Trump. So Jill Stein running on the ballot in some of the swing states is going to make it less likely that Kamala Harris is going to win, because the people voting for Jill Stein, if she wasn't on the ballot, would most likely be voting for Kamala Harris. Very few, I think, would be voting for Donald Trump. So maybe Jill Stein will be just as guilty of this destroying, making this world a horrible place in the same way that Ralph Nader is. They knew they couldn't win. Jill Stein knew she couldn't win, possibly. So, all right, run in those states like California, where it isn't going to matter. If you siphon votes away from Kamala Harris in California, it's not going to endanger her winning the state of California. So run in those states. But in those seven states that can that make the difference, and this is absolutely insane. 7 states are going to decide who's the president of the United States. Don't run in those states. Don't take away the votes from the one person who is going to be able, who could beat Donald Trump. And if it turns out that Kamala Harris loses to Trump in some of those states by, let's say, 5 or 10,000 votes, and Jill Stein got 20 or 30,000 votes, she's going to be just as responsible for what happens to this country in a Trump presidency as Ralph Nader is responsible for what happened in this country because Gore lost and George Bush won. I don't know what these people think of. We talk about, Trump, he's thinking all about himself. It's all about him. And it's absolutely true. That's all Trump thinks about is himself. But Jill Stein, yeah, maybe the same thing. Maybe she's only thinking about herself and she's not thinking about the future of this country. And I'm sure I'm going to get pummeled by some people for saying that. Now, if Kamala Harris loses by more votes than Jill Stein gets, well, then that doesn't apply. But if she doesn't lose by more votes than Jill Stein gets in some of those swing states, well, then it certainly does apply. It certainly does apply. Okay. So what else? So let's, what other things should we be talking about here on the show today? I was hoping to have some people come in here and talk about them. And but it's going to be an interesting, let me just talk about one thing of interest. Last weekend, the weekend before and this last weekend and next weekend, there are buses picking up Democrats from all over Southern California and going to Arizona to go and canvass Democratic voters to make sure they get out there and vote, mail their ballots in, or make sure they go to the polls and vote so the Democrats can win this pivotal swing state. Now, the last I've seen is that in Arizona, Trump is up by about 2 points. Now, this is all within the margin of error. So, so what they did is they took buses, and we had one coming out of Riverside County, and Victor and I got on that bus, and we went to Phoenix on Friday night, and we canvassed on Saturday and Sunday. And this was really an interesting thing to see. This was a major National Democratic Party's effort to get out the votes in a swing state. And they must have had, 300-400 people at least coming in from Southern California and other places. And we were trained how to knock on doors and this stuff. And we had these walk lists, and we went and knocked on doors. And I think that while I was there, I must have knocked on about maybe 150 doors. And these were all Democrats. We only went to the doors of registered Democrats. And we would talk to them about, had they mailed in their ballot? And if not, we talked to them about making a plan to turn in their ballot. And if they had they were kind of wishy-washy on Kamala Harris or Gallego, who was running for governor of Arizona. We would talk to them about that and why it's important for them. And I would always tell them about the fact that says, listen, this is going to be a very, very, very close election. So your vote actually counts. It really means something if you go out and vote. It means something if you don't go out and vote. And what that means isn't good. We really need Democrats to get out and vote. And I don't know if I was particularly, we did talk, most of the doors we knocked on, nobody answered. But about 80% of the doors, we just left literature because nobody answered the door, either because they weren't home or because they didn't want to answer the door. But we did have a chance to talk with some people, and a few people actually said yes, after talking with us, they would get their ballots out this weekend, and they would fill them out, and they would mail them in on Monday. And that was really critical because in Arizona, Monday is the last day you could for certain put your ballot in the mail and get it there in time for counting. Because in Arizona, if the ballot doesn't get into the election bureau by November 5th, I guess is what the date is, it's not going to get it counted. Here in California, though, it has to be postmarked on the day of election. So if it doesn't get there for a day or 2 or 3 days after the election, it's okay and will be counted as long as it has been postmarked in time, but not in Arizona. So we told people they have to get it on Monday, otherwise you're going to have to go to a ballot box or something other like that. So anyway, so if Kamala Harris only wins by a few votes, like 3 or 4 votes, Victor and I are going to say, look, we did it. We helped Kamala Harris win Arizona because we convinced 3 or 4 people to turn in their ballots who weren't going to turn in their ballots. But it's really exciting, and we met all kinds of wonderful people. Actually, we met the the Attorney General from Nevada. He came on down to talk with us and give us on. And of course, and Nevada is a swing state too. But talking with him, he really feels that in Nevada, Kamala Harris will carry the state. And I think that's what the polls show, that she's up a point or two in Nevada, but she's down a point or two in Arizona. So I was really pleased. I'm glad to have gone, and it makes you feel really good coming back on the bus Sunday night. You really felt like you had done something, win or lose, win or lose. I had done something, and all the other people there had done something to try to make sure that the Democrats won, Kamala Harris won, Tim Walz won, and that this country is going to be safe from someone like Trump, who tells everyone that Haitians are eating cats and dogs and your pets in Spring Valley or whatever it was. I told you before earlier, take a look at YouTube and see some of those videos about Trump eating cats. They are hilarious. But when you think about it, what kind of a person gets on this national stage and seriously talks about Haitian immigrants eating cats and eating dogs? And this is a person that we want, that some people want to have president of the United States. And it's not just one person. It's a lot of people, unfortunately. And unfortunately, it may be an awful lot. I don't think he's going to, if Trump wins, it's going to be the Electoral College he's going to win. I really doubt if he's going to get the popular vote. He didn't last time in 2016. He didn't get the popular vote, and I doubt if he'll get it again. But of course, he denied it. He said, "Oh, in California, there's millions and millions of illegal immigrants voting in California, and if they hadn't voted, he would have won the popular vote." But he does that. This guy, he just lies and lies and lies and lies and lies, and everybody knows he lies. But I don't know how, but they just seem to put up with it. I don't know. They just put up with it. And of course, the most amazing group of putting up with it all is evangelical Christians. I mean, if there's ever been a person out there who is the antithesis of what supposedly evangelical Christians believe in, it's got to be Donald Trump. I mean, how many times has he been married, and he has extramarital affairs, and his rallies, he's foul-mouthed and all this kind of stuff. And it's okay. I had this on my Facebook account. I post. There's people on there that are Trump supporters, and I had posted about. I had posted this this drawing I did. It was made from AI. It was a picture of Trump talking to this teenage boy, and what Trump was saying was, he was telling the boy how to meet girls, and he says, "You grab them by the pussy. You can do anything." And I posted it, and this person said, "Oh, that's not. You could do worse." This was this evangelical question, and I wrote her back, "What could a president of the United States do worse besides telling the teenage boy to grab a girl by her pussy?" And she never responded, of course. But they, people are willing to, if people had souls, and of course I don't believe they do, but if they had souls, these Christians are willing to sell their soul for this guy because he does everything that they say a person shouldn't do, but trying divorce and fornication and foul language and cheating people out of money and all this kind of stuff. And he's done it all, and they're all for him. And it just shows you what you will do to gain power. You will throw everything you believe in to the wind in order to gain power. Look at all the Republicans in Congress who know damn well that Trump lost the 2020 election, but now parrot his line that he really won the election and the election was rigged, and that was why he lost it. It's just unbelievable. And so will we see this country go lose our democracy like they have in Hungary and these other countries, when you get some kind of autocratic ruler that can suspend laws and stuff, he'll do it because the Supreme Court has now given him immunity. Immunity. He can do anything he wants. Remember when he said, I can shoot somebody in the middle of Fifth Avenue and no one's going to do anything about it? Well, guess what? The Supreme Court has now said, yeah, go ahead, Trump. Shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue because no one's going to be able to do anything because it was an official act of your presidency. It's just an unbelievable situation. Just unbelievable, unbelievable, unbelievable. Okay. Well, I hope you've kind of enjoyed this show. I like to say, I apologize once again that you couldn't call in, I am so embarrassed, and we will do it next week. And by the way, even though KCA couldn't get us on the air, if we would still love to have some sponsors on our show here. And if you would like to be a sponsor of our show, KCA radio rates are very low. You can reach all the listeners I have on the show here, plus all the other listeners. Remember, it's on the air, over the air in the Inland Empire. It's on 1050 AM and 1050 AM and 105.6 FM, as well as on the internet at kcaradio.com. And you can advertise on it, and you could reach my listeners, and maybe you can, put your own 2 cents worth. Of course, you always put your own 2 cents worth in just by calling the show. And I hope that next week some of you will not hold a grudge who wanted to call in today, and will be able to call in next week. And we can talk. Like I said, it's going to be the night of the election. At 8 o'clock, when the polls close, we will be knowing the results of some of the states. Although, as I understand it, the media has agreed not to publicize results from states that closed at essentially 5 o'clock California time, so as to influence people who are still voting, saying that, oh, well, Trump has won Florida, and Trump has won North Carolina, and Kamala Harris has won Pennsylvania, and all this kind of stuff. So tune in at 8 o'clock next week, and we will be doing a blow-by-blow analysis of the upcoming election results. In fact, I think, I'm not sure, the Democratic Party is holding a big watch party. We'd like to call it the victory party on Tuesday night beginning at 8 o'clock at the Morongo Casino. I understand it's sold out, so you can't come. But I'm going to see if I can maybe broadcast a show from there and interview people. That would be great fun to do that and see what's going on there. All right. Well, hey, we're beginning to run out of some time here. I would like to say, if you haven't voted yet, don't forget, you got to get your ballots mailed in. Now, you can mail in next Tuesday, and it will be counted. But don't wait till the very last minute, or you might actually forget to mail it. And who knows? Did you see what happened in Oregon, where somebody set fire to a number of the mail-in ballot boxes? They put incendiary explosive devices, something like that, and burned up a lot of hundreds of ballots that had been cast in these boxes. And I'm wondering how the election, so what they're telling people is you've got to call, if you put your ballot in one of these boxes. Now, they were able to salvage some of them. But not all of them. And so you need to contact the Bureau of Elections in Oregon and see if they've gotten your ballot. Because when you mail your ballot in and it gets to the elections office, they record that your ballot has been received. And you can actually, I imagine, go online because and find out if your ballot has been received or not. So if you're wondering if the U.S. mail has lost your ballot in getting to the elections division, you can find out by going online to their thing there and typing in whatever you have to type in to find out whether your ballot was received or not. That's kind of interesting. That's real 21st century, isn't it? So yeah, check it out. You just out of your own curiosity, you might want to know if your ballot was received or not. I am confident that 99.99999% if you put your ballot in the mail, it's going to get to the Elections Bureau. I'm very, very confident. I'm that confident of the United States postal system, even though it's now being run by a Trump appointee. Right. Okay. All right. Well, let's see. What other things? One last thing. We were talking about Musk a little earlier. You know, one of the things that Musk has done in working with Trump is that he wants Trump to appoint him, and Trump has said he will, to an agency that's going to cut government spending. And he has thrown out the figure $2 trillion. He wants to cut $2 trillion from government spending each year. And that's going to be really interesting to see. This just can't be done without having some major effects on the economy and on people. So you might see some cuts to Social Security, and you might see some cuts to Medicare, and you might see some cuts to food supplement programs and the children's lunches, and for conservation programs and our parks programs and this kind of stuff. But you won't see is any cuts to SpaceX and their sending a spaceship to Mars, because Musk gets billions of dollars a year from the federal government for launching rockets and all this kind of stuff, and the Starlink system and so forth and so on. And I can assure you that if Musk gets if Trump gets elected, Horace, and Musk gets the thing there the thing there in which to cut agency, he will not cut any of his money. And of course, what they will do, of course, is provide another $1 trillion tax cut to billionaires like Musk, like Trump did before. And this national debt crisis that we're having, it's only going to get worse under Trump. And it got worse when he wasn't there. And one of the major reasons was because of the $1 trillion tax cut that he gave to billionaires. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. Well, listen, we got to run out. I'm getting a message from Eric that it's time to wrap up the show. So I'm going to wrap it up now. And I want to thank you for calling in and listening to the show. Like I said, next Tuesday, 888-909-1050. Put it on your calendar. Call in, listen in. We will do a wrap up of what is happening with the election. It's going to be so exciting to be on at 8 o'clock, right when the polls close here in California, and maybe be one of the first to broadcast some of the results of that election. So once again, my name is Lanny Swerdlow. Hey, check out my website. I haven't talked about this very much, but I have a website called scientificfreethinkers.com. It's a long one, scientificfreethinkers.com. Check it out. I've got some interesting articles I think you'll find there of interest to challenging some of your ideas, some of your mythological ideas, if you still believe in mythological forces out there. So until next week, thank you for listening to Lanny Sense. This is the show. The KCAA radio station that leaves no listener behind, and Lanny Sense is the show on KCAA that leaves no gender behind. Good night.